any questions for Joe before we end today?
Joe, so you have 1 year left on your contract. What?
Oh,
I
Yay!
lost my headphones. Oh, here.
Oh, it makes it even better.
Let me just say that if the Steelers hustled as much as Tomlin did running away from that press conference, they probably would have won the game.
What a crazy
Oh,
time. I don't, you know, I was really I was watching the press conference and I was really surprised that that question came from Brooke Pryor of all people, because you would think that she would know better. I get that she's a reporter. I get it's her job, but there's also a time and a place, and that's most reporters who have been doing what she's been doing for so long and so well know that that's just not the time to do
see, I
it.
think there's two schools of thought in there. I think there's a lot of people saying what you said. I'm fine with
Mm-hmm.
what she did. If that question was not asked, because everyone is wondering that question. If that question was not asked, they would have said, "Oh, the media is soft. The media is not doing their job. They don't ask them
yeah.
the hard questions." Now, from what I understand, that was like the second or third question in the whole press conference. Maybe you wait to ask that toward the end,
Actually,
but
it was the end. It literally
oh, it
was.
was.
I will say it was the end of the press conference. It was how we reenacted it was exactly how it happened, minus losing his headphones. But they went through the whole press conference. It was very short, but they did go through the whole press, maybe 5 or 6 questions. Bert Lawton
Okay.
asked if there were any more questions, and then she even paused. Like, I think that she knew she shouldn't ask it, but she went ahead and asked it anyway. Because he
See,
asked it,
I have no problem with it. Darren, what did you think of the whole Brooke Pryor thing?
No, I had no problem with it either. I mean, it's a question I really feel did need to be asked, and I guess people could look at it and say, "Well, you're just the media being jerks." But when you lose like that, and the season's now come to an end, your contract is only got 1 year left. It's a valid question. And it's a valid question after a loss, right? It probably would be less valid had they won because they're going to continue to play, and who knows what's going to happen. But now it's a culmination again, right? It's over. The season's over. It's ended. You have 1 year left. It's a valid question. So I know Cam Hayward, in a nice way, in a Cam Hayward way, didn't like the question when asked. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good question, and it was fine. Brooke, a thumbs up to Brooke. Somebody had to ask it. And the
Yeah.
thing about it is, you could argue what his reaction was. Was his reaction like, I'm just pissed off we lost. I'm trying to concentrate on that, and you're asking this, so I'm gone?
Right.
Or was his reaction just being pissy towards Brooke because, it's a legitimate question? In a way, some people could read into it saying, we're doubting that you can do this job, and we're kind of
Mhm.
hoping to hear what you have to say. So,
Yeah.
you know,
He
Here's
missed a prime opportunity to do that though, right? With his reaction. Like I was surprised Brooke asked it when she did, but also surprised at his reaction. Like you could have totally used that as an opportunity to to say, what you want to, exactly what you want to say, or it's not under, that's not the topic right now. Some way of Mike Tomlin addressing it would have better than he did would have been the way to
and
go. And he just
and in a
he just
Mike
made it
Tomlin
worse.
way. And great, you're right. And in a Mike Tomlin way, I mean, the simple thing I could have seen him saying, which kind of surprised me why he walked off, was, "I plan to be the coach next year," and then that's it. You know them, move on.
that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
The
Yeah.
Eagles coach was asked the exact same question. Mike McCarthy of the Cowboys was asked the exact same question. You ask that of anybody, that any coach that just ended their season, that has a contract thing. And all you say is, I don't want to talk about that right now, or I'm just thinking about our team, or I'm thinking about the game, or this isn't the time for
Right.
that.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
million ways you could have answered that, but for him to just walk out, and it's like, and I've heard it's like, well, he doesn't like Brooke Pryor. Like, what does Brooke Pryor do?
Right, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
She's
He
was
doesn't
it
like the media at all. The
Allison?
Steelers,
Was
though,
it
they have
Brooke?
a season-ending press conference. You know what I mean? They always have that.
Yeah,
Like in a couple days, they're gonna have one of those, and that's
right.
that's generally like when you ask those kind of questions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I definitely get both sides. I get the Chaz, but I also know that, like, you know, just the hesitation and the fact that she waited to the very end. You know what I mean? Like, she had she did hesitate about it. I'm 99% sure. You know what I mean? Because it's,
And
because
it's
of the
funny how you bring
timing.
up hesitation, and I'm glad you did because I think in a way I think anybody would. I think he hesitated in his mind a little bit. What do I say here? And he just said, you know what, I'm
Right.
just pissed. I'm done. So that tells me that all of the stuff that's been coming down and he's been crapped on this year more than most. I think he's heard it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows it. And I think he knows he's somewhat on the hot seat as far as at least the fan base is considered. Now, we know how the Rooney's operate. As far as I know, he'll go in there tomorrow morning and sign a contract, however it may be. And I think whatever that may be. But to me, it kind of kicked off what I think is going to be the days of our lives of off seasons for the Steelers. I mean, there is so much. And Joe, it's funny. Here we are a week later. We've played a playoff game. And we're kind of back to where we were last week. There is a massive, for us, it's a big quarterback controversy. Is Kenny Pickett number one? Should he be? Probably. Is Mason? What if Mason Rudolph comes back? If he comes back, who knows? What if the free agency thing comes to light? What if they really are talking about bringing in Justin Fields? What if they do? And if you say that they're not, you haven't been paying attention to Omar Khan. You've had, and I think the other thing is the players talking, right? And yesterday was really interesting versus the last 24 hours, right? So yesterday, Najee Harris once again took a backhanded shot. That's a third time alone he's done that.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard Freiermuth. We've heard Pickens do it. We've heard it from different ends. That's never happened before. And that's credit to Mike Tomlin. He's always ran a good locker room. And the thing about Tomlin is all these players want to play for him. And hell, if I was blessed with enough talent, I'm sure I'd want to play for him too. I get that. But then you're thinking, okay, yep, here we go. Players are saying it. Players agree with the fans. It's time. Then you have a bombshell. I consider a bombshell today. TJ Watt came out and said, in my negotiation, it's written that Mike Tomlin's the coach. Well, that changes everything. You want to remind me that scene in Hoosiers when they're about to vote the guy out and Jimmy comes in and he goes, oh, I think it's about time we start playing ball again. They all cheer. And that one guy that plays the antagonist goes, I told you as soon as we got rid of that guy. And he goes, one thing, coach stays, I play. Well, TJ Watt just dropped a Jimmy on all of us because now that's going to bring up a whole new can of worms. Like, well, if Mike Tomlin goes, TJ Watt goes. Well, hold the bus.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not even 48 hours, guys. We've got TJ Watt. We've got, holy crap. I mean, this is going to be interesting.
It's a drama-filled. It's going to be a drama-filled off season, but it's been a drama-filled season for many of the things you just mentioned. Najee just flat out taking shots at people. Minka, we heard take shots at people. TJ Watt. There was the George Pickens thing, the Deontay thing, the Chukwuekorafort thing, the Minka and Deontay getting into a fight at the Cleveland game. There's things every week that I mean, for us talking about the Steelers, it's wonderful because we have lots to talk about. But dang, this is like you said, it is a soap opera. It is the days of like sands through the hourglass. So are the Pittsburgh Steelers. My God.
Yeah. And then Kenny Pickett, didn't even do media day. He didn't locker room.
He's the captain. He's the captain of the team, the captain of the offense, and he's not out there talking to people. And what the heck?
And that's and I think that's another. Everything has like a one side of the fence or the other. I mean, some people could say I don't blame Kenny, and they have a legitimate point on that. And like to your point, Joe, team captain, whether you're pissed or not, you need to be there and need to say your goodbyes or need to speak.
Yeah.
So obviously, not only is there the drama of who is it going to be, but the guy that was supposed to be, he's not real happy right now. He's pretty pissed off. Whether you believe it or not, he's pissed off. And today's a sign of it. So,
and what would he have to talk about? He hasn't played in 3 weeks, right? So it's like
his spot on the depth chart. His spot on the depth chart. It's like, look at the depth. He can just hold it up like a scoreboard. Like, look at the depth chart. I'm still number one. It says right here. It's like holding up like you did a good quiz in math or something like that.
To your point earlier, Alex, I mean, a good reporter. Guess what they're going to ask Kenny Pickett about today? And he didn't want to answer it.
Exactly.
Maybe he didn't have an answer to give, or B, he felt that the answer he did give could be damning to what he wants to do next year. So I cannot remember. And And I'm by no means the expert or know-it-all in this, but I cannot remember this much drama ever going into an off season with so many prominent positions. And TJ Watt today just kind of kicked that into a higher gear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that is a bomb. That's a bomb when you say, "Yeah, I told him Mike T has to be the coach." Like, whoa,
it's in my
whoa,
contract.
yeah,
So
whoa,
that's a shot across the bow.
yeah.
I
And
don't
then
know.
there was something when Ashley Leotis, I think she's WTA, when she tweeted, Mike Tomlin started to be asked about having a year left on his contract and he walked away. Jerry Dulac quote tweets and then says there was a reason. Who is basically buddies with Mr. Rooney. Oh my God. Oh my God. And that's and that just the behind the scenes goings on, and that's even like Mark Caboli put out a column today, and he's basically like, you don't know the half of it. Those are the things that the reporters can talk about. Remember, it was Mark Caboli who flew out the Kenny Pickett didn't want to be a backup thing. So there are so many things that are going on that we don't even know about. And for Najee to say that, for Najee to just flat out say, there are people that need we need more discipline, we need more rules and stuff like that. Like, and then apparently they asked Cam Hayward about it. He's like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like, wow.
Well, yeah,
There's
same thing happened to poor Broderick Jones. He kind of spoke his mind how he thought it was kind of weird how they were running drills, and Tomlin dismissed it, called him like a big baby, a baby Huey or whatever he called him, which I thought was kind of insulting. And these are kids, Jones, Najee, saying, "Hey, we came from Georgia, we came from Alabama. Arguably the two most successful football programs over the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever you want to say." And they're not liking it. Pat Fryermuth, again, I thought it was very telling. And he said, seems like we've been playing the same the same plays for the last 3 years. So again, there's some validity there. It's not just fans, out there thinking we know more than anybody or more than a coach. There's cracks and chinks in the armor that have never been there before on a Mike Tomlin team, regardless of a Antonio Brown, kind of incident or something like that. But it's apparent, it's numerous, and I really feel like again, people I think tend to think, oh, well, we don't have to worry about until July. Guess what? You got draft day coming up here in about 4 months, and they're definitely going to want somebody or the focus to be back in that within the next 3 months. So there's a lot that's going to happen between now and April. A lot.
I was on another podcast, and the first thing they said is, what the heck is going on in Pittsburgh? What is it with Tomlin and these wide receivers? He always has problems with wide receivers. Antonio Brown, and now Pickens, and now Deontay, and like there's a whole bunch of wide receivers. Like, and I'm like, it's like, is it him? I'm like, or is it just how the league is? Or does Tomlin bring on this drama himself? I don't know. It kind of seems like there's a lot more drama in Pittsburgh than other teams. I mean, maybe we're in the Steelers bubble. Maybe it seems that way, but it kind of seems like there is extra drama in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
it's
I think it's because we're surrounded by it, right? Like we're covering it all the time. We're reading it all the time. Like we don't read everything about the Dallas Cowboys. We don't read anything. I definitely get your point, but I think that's why. If we were reading about the Packers, if we were reading about the Eagles, I mean, they're gonna look at the Eagles right now. Holy moly. You know what I mean? But going back to what Naj said, and what you said, Darren, about, Alabama and Georgia being some of the most successful college programs, in forever or whatever, like it's because they're disciplined, and Naj obviously came to Pittsburgh and he had a totally different way of being coached. And it's not to say that Tomlin isn't a great coach, but you have to look at the fact that, like, if people are questioning, he's not the first player to question that the team, to mention that the team is undisciplined. So it's like, what is he doing? We've heard for years about Camp Cupcake, and he's a leader of men, but it seems like when it comes down to it, he's friends with these guys. You know what I mean? Like he's more of like a chum level than maybe like a hard-nosed disciplinarian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
Just
I
not.
I I think that's all really valid stuff too, Allison, and when you look at it, I guess it's in a way, not to sound snobbish, it's kinda new for us in Pittsburgh to a point, or to a degree, because we normally associate this kind of chaos and crap happening with Cleveland or the Redskins
Right.
or Miami or the Eagles. I mean, Kelsey wasted no time. He's done. He retired.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you there's a lot of problems in that locker room.
Mm-hmm.
But this has really come to such a fruition this year with all these problems that I think have been building up for a while. And yeah, I've been a proponent of Tomlin being gone for a while now, more or less on his record, right? I mean, when you peel back the onion, it's not good. I mean, there's good
Mm-hmm.
on the surface, not good in the playoffs. That's where it matters. But the drama is so heightened that we're almost 28 minutes into this podcast, and we have yet to talk about the game yesterday.
Right.
1 minute, right? 1 minute. I don't hear anybody talking about the game. Now I get the Buffalo news channels up here. They talked about the game, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
Yeah.
funny to look at the disparity. You got Buffalo talking about what they did well against the Steelers, how they're going to prepare for the Chiefs, and Pittsburgh channels with, not even talking about the game. Like, oh, by the way, we lost the playoff game yesterday,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
so, and there was some good I mean, the one good takeaway is, and Allison, I'm pretty sure you're right there with us. I think every one of us almost had them going 500 in division this year. They went 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you
Yeah.
talk about all kinds of things that did or didn't happen. I mean, whoever you want to give credit for, Tomlin, the players, whatever. 5-1 in the best division of football. That's pretty damn good. But no
Yeah.
one's really talking about that either, because we
No.
have a lot of this stuff going on right now, and it's a lot.
Once
Yeah.
again, we had the giant debate, the giant Tomlin debate. Basically, if you're in Pittsburgh, there's, I don't know, half, maybe more over the population of Steelers fans that say, you know what, I'm tired of Tomlin, get rid of him. Anybody outside of the Steelers that's not a Steelers fan outside of Pittsburgh, they say, how dare you even think about getting rid of Mike Tomlin? He's never had a losing season. How stupid are you to even want to get rid of him? And finally, some of the national people are like, yeah, but have you seen his playoff record? Like, what good
Right.
is going 10-7 if you just get bounced in the playoffs the first round every single year, and it's not even close. When you get, what was that number? Like the last 5 playoff games, they got outscored like 66-0 in the first quarter or something like that. You're
Mm-hmm.
blown out as soon as the game starts. What does that tell you? What does that tell you when you start horribly? That is on coaching. That is on preparation.
That's 5
Mm-hmm.
playoff games in a row. They've given up 30 plus points, 40 plus
Yeah.
points. And
There were
it's
so
kind of
many
like,
turnovers though. I mean, that's not on Tomlin. That's on the players. You know what I mean? Like there were so many
yeah.
turnovers, and you just can't come back from that when you turn the ball over and Josh Allen is your opponent. You know what I mean? You just
Oh,
can't
yeah,
come
you're
back
giving
from
them
that.
10.
The way that he was playing from their opening snap was phenomenal. And there wasn't any slowing that down. There just wasn't any slowing it down.
To me, I don't know, you guys could agree or disagree, and just being around the sport for as long as I have, played it, I cover high school football on Fridays and have for a while, and I always feel like when you get to the later point of the season, when you see this many missed tackles, and it's not just the Steelers, you've seen it with the Eagles. I mean, if you watch that Eagles game, I mean, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God.
Yeah.
I really feel like missed tackles are a big representation of, I'm not just sorry. I'm not into this. My passion's not there. When you get into the pro level, I am on a contract year. I'm not gonna, when they get, and that's,
Mm-hmm.
Business
and
decision.
it's obvious to me there's a problem with the Eagles locker room, which is kind of hard to understand. I mean, that they went to the Super Bowl last year, played pretty well in that Super Bowl, but something happened. I'm not sure what. I don't know enough no insight to say or comment on it. But in the same thing, I think is going on with the Steelers, and I just don't know. I mean, the TJ Watt thing really intrigues me because what do they do, right? If they are going to let Mike Tomlin walk, if they're going to get rid of him, somebody's got to be right there by TJ Watt saying, "Look, this is what we're going to do." Because if he's serious about what he said today and the way he
See,
said it,
that's ridiculous. I mean, TJ Watt probably has another what, maybe 5-6 years. Is Tomlin going to have to stay? I mean, at some point, he's not. Tomlin is
Right.
not going to be the
Yeah.
coach anymore. It's like, but you say the TJ Watt's like, listen, okay, yeah, Tomlin's not the guy, but we got someone else, and that someone else is Who knows? Mike Vrabel or something, someone else he might like or something like that,
Yeah.
or have him
Mhm.
involved. It's like,
Mhm.
but it's just it's
Yep.
just it's just unbelievable. It's just, don't 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 crap on us because we're happy. We're not happy with 10-7 in a first round playoff. It's not, the goal isn't finishing over 500 in the regular season. The goal is
No.
winning a Super Bowl, and they're not even close. This team was not even close. Nobody thought of this team as a contender. It was a miracle.
No.
It was a miracle, and you could call it a good coaching job by Tomlin that he got him from 7-7 or whatever they were to 10-7. That was impressive to finish strong when we were supposed to be three tough opponents. But my
Mhm.
goodness, he also dug that hole. He also created that
Right.
problem.
Took him
Mhm.
16 weeks
Mhm.
to find a quarterback that worked with the team. I mean, just yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of things you can look back and poo-poo on, but like you said, Joe, sand through the hourglass. The hourglass has been turned over, and
Yeah.
well,
Right. Yeah.
maybe bigger than an hourglass at this point, but the sand's running.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious to see what's going to transpire over the next few weeks and months because I think it's going to be
Yeah.
a lot. You have some free agents out there. I think they're not a lot of big names though. Probably the one that comes to mind would be they're going to want to try to sign Killebrew. He looked pretty good, and Kevon Alexander might be another guy. I mean, there's a list there. It's not daunting. I think Boykin's gone. I think some other
Mhm.
people are gone. I think they're going to need a new punter. Uh, God,
Yeah.
they need a new punter.
No
I watched
question.
that Detroit Lions
Jeez.
and Rams game. Part of the reason that Rams and Lions game was so good is the punting was phenomenal. They drove both
Mhm.
teams down. The first thing I saw, and I tweeted at Joe, I'm sitting down and they go to punt, and it's the first thing I could see. Harvin punts that ball. That guy's on the 10. He's actually about the 9 hash mark. He had to run 11 yards up the field the ball. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I mean, it's not like what was I expecting anyway, but Harvin's got to go. They need a new center. Now the Eagles need a new
Mhm.
center. There's a lot that needs fixed on a 10
Yeah.
and 7
Yeah.
team. Believe it or
Their
not.
coaching staff, in my opinion, a lot of the reason why they're so mediocre is because Tomlin's just stuck in his ways, and they're old. They're old
Complacency.
ways. He's a very old-fashioned
Old
guy when it
fashioned.
comes to to schematics, and it's like this is a young league. We're seeing all these young coaches just ascend in the ranks and have these really great teams, and it's because they're not stuck in the 1960s and 1970s or even
That's
the 80s. You know what I mean? They're
that's the
not
thing.
stuck in their old
That's the thing.
ways.
The
And so
entire
he needs to hire.
organization is considered old fashioned, and
Well,
yes,
yeah,
stuck in their ways. And
and it
there's,
starts with Rooney. It does
and
start with Rooney for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. And there's two ways you could look at it. It's like, oh, look at the stability. Look at the stability. It's like, yeah, but
What
God,
does that mean when you can't win playoff
how
games?
much has the
Like,
league changed in the last 5 years, let alone 10, 15
Yeah,
years?
far be it for
right.
me to criticize the Roonies. I really can't justify too much of that, but I'll say this. Since Dan passed, or since Dan
Hmm.
started to decline,
Yeah.
I don't know if Art the third or whatever cares. He's not as involved. It just doesn't seem like it to me. He's not in touch. Where
Hmm.
Dan really had his pulse on the team, and I think that's a big part of it because you're right. To me, it's a lot of complacency, Allison. I mean, 10-7. Hey, 5-1 in division, okay, but that's not enough to build on. You have a lot of problems,
Hmm.
and bringing him back, I think, doesn't do those problems or is going to resolve those. These are the kind
Right.
of problems where a new coach needs to be brought in. Fresh air,
Hmm.
new view,
Yeah.
new way to approach practice, new way to
Hmm.
approach this, that, or the other thing. Because if I think the way they carry into next season, there's just so much right now, and
Yeah.
obviously players that don't believe in him aren't buying into it,
Hmm.
and I don't know how you resell that. I
Right.
just
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
So
And the offensive
so
coordinator and the defensive coordinator, in my eyes, looking at the defense played horribly last night. And you can't, I mean, to start the game, they got better, whatever, you know what I mean? They slowed them down because it literally could have been like a 65-3 football game. You know what I mean? The way that the Bills were going at one point. But it's like their offensive coordinator, they're probably what they're going to do. What are they going to do? The normal Steelers thing, and they're going to retain Eddie Faulkner as the offensive coordinator
Oh
because
God,
they want
no. Oh God, no. And
Right.
that's the question.
they're going to
That's
do.
the question. Okay, so let's go back here. Well, let's go backwards. Today it was revealed that Tomlin told the team that he's going to stay. That because there were reports out there. It's like, well, he's going to talk with his family and see how it goes. Like, well, yeah, no crap. We all talk to our families, all right? That's like saying, that's like putting out a report that says Mike Tomlin is going to drink liquids and breathe air. That those sources tell me. Obviously he's going to talk with them. I'm sure he talks with his family every year about what his career and what's going on. But here is the thing. They put that out there. He put that out there with his agent just to say, "Oh, I don't know whether I'm going to come back or not." What he's doing, he's leveraging either for more money or more power, and that's where it gets interesting because basically you could make the argument that keeping Matt Canada torpedoed this entire year. It destroyed Kenny Pickett. It destroyed the offense. It created a lot of this drama because Pickens and Deontay were so mad that they weren't getting the ball at all. Najee was mad too. Everybody was mad. They were tanking it. You can make the argument that Matt Canada destroyed us. Well, who hired Matt Canada? We're not sure. I hear it was Tomlin or whatever, but that's the thing is that is maybe Tomlin's biggest flaws is the coaches that he has suck. And
Yes.
who is he going to get? Whoever he gets as the offensive coordinator next is one of the biggest decisions of this entire team because that determines what's going to happen with the quarterbacks. And, and let's face it, it's not Terrell Austin that's the defensive coordinator, it's Tomlin. The defense is not perfect. The defense is okay. It has some pluses, but there are a lot of minuses too. But whoever gets to decide between who is the offensive coordinator, I think there's a massive chess match going on potentially between Tomlin, Omar Khan, Rooney. Who knows what's going on? But that might be what he's angling for is more power and not just more money.
I'd be shocked if they didn't retain Faulkner, only because that's what they do. That's what they do.
Yeah, they do.
Every time we have questions around a coordinator, we're like, oh, they're gonna go out and they're gonna interview all these high quality guys, and there's gonna be some really, genius mind that they're gonna bring in, and no, they just don't do that. They don't do that. They haven't done it since Todd Haley, and that was what 2012 12 years ago. You know what I mean?
And Todd Haley
like,
was not an outside hire. He was the son of a longtime employee.
a scout, right? Yeah, you're right. You're right. But he wasn't working. He wasn't promoted from within. You know what I mean? That's all I mean about that. But that's a good point too. I hadn't thought about that. I had forgotten about.
It's always someone.
Dad.
It's always someone or someone that somebody is someone that knows or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I get sick of these idiots too that sit there and say, "Oh well, maybe you need to apply for the Steelers coaching job." First of all, shut up. Okay, that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that we're better, but my suggestion is you're the ones that need to shut up because you're not looking and seeing what we're seeing. A lot of the things that he has done don't make sense. A lot of these things are very questionable. Pat Myers, the offensive line coach, was one of them. You lose Mike Munchak, big loss, and everybody would agree that's offensive line has not been the same since he left. You brought in a guy that had been fired in Carolina, who was getting McCaffrey killed. That offensive line was horrible. Who was fired from the Chargers because he was bad there, and you bring him in as the O-line when right now or at that time that offensive line needed more attention than it ever had before. You had aging veterans, you had gaping holes. It's been the point of contention for many years until they finally drafted Broderick Jones this year, the first offensive lineman they drafted in over 8 years. It's just things like that, and everybody was like, Pat Meyer?
Right.
I know far be it for me to question a head coach in the NFL, okay, but still, and look, the offensive line wasn't great. It wasn't until week 10 or 11 that they started maybe driving on the run game a little bit better. The pass protection, Kenny Pickett got his ass kicked.
Mhm.
Which everybody, other
Yeah,
than
they
it
all
came
did.
together a little bit better for Mason Rudolph, but towards the end, but
Mhm.
still, I mean,
Which was surprising considering that he's a pocket passer, right?
right.
I thought that
Yeah,
was kind of
I
interesting because
mean,
he
it
doesn't
just
run. Like Mason Rudolph he's not a runner,
and I have
you
a
know.
feeling that's where it's gonna go is they're gonna keep Tomlin and justify it by basically cleaning house. I think there will be gone.
I hope so.
Terrell Austin, which who knows? I don't know if you can really fault Terrell Austin either because Tomlin's in charge of the defense. You're right,
Exactly.
Allison. He's not a figurehead. He's from right here in Sharon, PA. Nice kid, successful guy, young mind. Probably one of the guys you might want to retain. He'll probably be gone. They'll clean house and put Tomlin on there and whatever. That's the way I have a feeling it's going to go. But it's been different with Omar Khan. I said that too. If you haven't been paying attention to Omar Khan, he's kind of batshit crazy. You have no idea what he might
Right,
do.
yeah.
Tomlin might be
He's
fired tomorrow.
definitely outside the box. He is.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now they are, according to Spot Track, 6.7 million over the cap. I've heard
Mhm.
they're 14 million over the cap. Obviously, lots going to change. They could restructure. I heard if they restructure contracts, they could save 40 million or whatever.
Mhm.
But there's so much going on. So many questions right now. Cam Hayward in 2024, his cap hit is 22 million.
Mhm.
Cam
And
Hayward
eyes paid.
is I can't say enough good things about him, but
Mhm.
No.
he does not at this point in his career, he shouldn't be pulling in 22 million.
No,
Agreed.
no.
It's
And why did
time
they have
to,
him on the sideline a bunch last night? Like,
he's hurt.
He was hurt.
He's
right, he
basically
is
been hurt
Yeah,
all year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's like, why even then risk it, right?
I
Like,
just feel
it's
Yeah.
bad
kind
because
of.
he just. Go ahead, Allison. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just mean like it seemed like the defense saw that. You know what I mean? Or I'm sorry, the offense saw that. Oh, Cam Hayward's not in the game. We're just gonna go to his and they score. So it's like I don't know. It just seemed like whatever.
No, I agree. And you've had Cam there for so long. It seems like it's been so long since you've really got any help for him.
Right.
I mean, I know they got to double team him, anything, but I mean, it's just, it kind of goes back to the Steel Curtain days. How the hell do you stop that line? Or even those early '90s when you had like Joel Steed and Brenston Buckner and Ray Seals, and they were very formidable. Even the Cowboys had trouble. Those '90s Cowboys teams had trouble stopping that Steeler defensive line. I mean, it just seems like something that's just gone poorly drafted, unaddressed. I don't know. And I feel bad because Cam Hayward's probably going to be on that other Mount Rushmore for me, like with Dermontti Dawson, the greatest Steelers to never win a championship, and not necessarily their
Right.
fault, right? It's just a guy like,
Mhm.
man, I would have given anything to see that guy have a Lombardi in his hand. Really would have.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if
Yeah.
they restructure, he could be around for another 10 years. I mean, maybe there's a chance.
Or two or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's time to get him help. It's time for him to be.
Right.
I think he could be effective just in a not in a part-time role, but not you just less snaps or whatever.
No, if you think about it though, he's only like what, 1 year removed from 10.5 sacks. You know what I mean? The fact that like his groin was falling off the bone or whatever, you know what I mean?
Exactly. He's been dealing with that groin literally for
Right.
a year now.
Yeah.
It's been little
Yeah.
tears and then a big tear or whatever. Yeah. So I
Mhm.
mean that's just he is a warrior for even being out there at all.
Right.
This
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
with all those injuries. But yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
what if he decides to hang it up? He very well could. What is he? 35 now.
Well, yeah. And Joe, you and I've talked about this, and I'll do it again. I'll kind of say only part of this. I ran into Cam Hayward in my job this couple times this summer. I don't want to say where because I think he wants to keep that private, and I'll respect that. But I saw him as early as right after the 4th of July, warming up, working out, and it was hotter than heck where we were. And Connor joined him, right? His brother. And I mean, he was busting his butt. He brought his own tackling dummies to the place we were at, right? She brought him in a big truck. He's out there hitting those things, and it's blazing hot, and it's just like He wants it so bad. He's 35, Allison, you're right. But I mean, there was no question in my mind watching that before we got to Latrobe that, man, this guy really wants it bad. And stuff like that ticks me off. Like, just a guy like that, man. Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame because that guy is not just on the field, off the field. I mean, every year he's nominated for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. I really hope he gets that this year. He's just such a wonderful person. I just remember when it was the Tree of Life shooting, how he represented the city so well,
Right.
and represented the team in the city, and he's just such a great Pittsburgher and a great and he is the last one of the quote unquote keeper of the flame. He's the last one from those Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward teams that that we all acknowledge played a whole different way than they do now. But God, it's almost like he's a relic from a bygone era or something like that, instead of the keeper of the flame, and it's just sad.
Yeah, it's going to be no matter what. It's kind of like the TJ Watt thing, right? Like they're saying, Nick Herbig's going to go in there, and I'm like, yeah, great. Nick Herbig's going to make an impact. He's not going to make a TJ Watt impact. It's not because he's not good, but TJ Watt is up here. Cam Hayward's up here. Chances are, next couple drafts, they'll probably draft the defensive lineman. They'll be good, but Cam Hayward is that Hall of Fame type good. So yeah, it's just you wish you could have seen the guy win a Super Bowl. And barring a miracle, I don't think it's going to happen. His stuff today was kind of hurt you. He's or strikes, tugs your heartstrings. He says, "My mind's there, no problem. My heart, but my body."
Right.
Kelsey said the same thing in his thing with the Eagles today. I mean, he's been through a lot of surgeries, a lot of injuries playing center for the Eagles all these years. So these guys take a toll, man. It takes a toll.
Yeah, we all lose to Father Time. Father Time is undefeated.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but the other problem, you can blame Matt Canada, but Kenny Pickett took a big step backwards, and I heard it say it's like, well, he was 7-2 as a starter when he played the full game. Yeah, nobody's looking at Kenny Pickett and saying, "Oh yeah, he had a good season." And when you say he's 7-2, to me, I think that speaks to one big problem, and I think probably why he kind of plays the way he does is he's scared to get hurt, and he gets hurt a lot. Dude's fragile.
Yeah, and that's another reason why it's like, well, what do we do at quarterback? Mason Rudolph's probably gone. He's going to give the whole organization the middle finger.
No,
I don't blame him one bit.
I think he'll stay.
Trubisky's gone. They're going to have to pay him a lot of money. Not a lot of money, not like starter money, but I think they're going to have to pay him very well and maybe even promise him like a true competition at quarterback. And I just feel like Tomlin is so, we invested this first round draft pick in him. I don't know.
That's the thing. That's really good stuff, because that's the thing. Like, one of the things Joe could have put out there tonight is, what's your way too early prediction for next year? There's no way in hell. You could have 6 magic 8 balls. Okay. There's no way in hell with the way this team sits today that any of us could look at him and give him a legitimate 10-7 or 11-6 or 9-8. And here's why. I mean, the why is like, holy crap. And you're right. That's so fascinating with the Mason Rudolph thing, Allison, because if they say to him, or whoever it is, whether it's Tomlin, new coach, whoever, they say to him, hey, you know what? We promise you have a legitimate shot at being QB1 next year. I think Joe's right. I think he stays. Now, if they're like, no, if Kenny's our guy, I think he goes. But in Mitch, I hope somebody was waiting outside with giant eagle totes and helped them pack today. But along with Hart. But it's just, there's so much out there right now.
But that's the thing. Mitch Trubisky next, or in 2024, his cap hit is going to be $7.5 million, and that's about what he's going to be making. So you cut Mitch and you say, hey Mason, how about we give you a 3-year, $24 million contract or something like that? He'd probably stay, because it's like, no team is going to say, now, if Mason Rudolph went on some magical run to the AFC Championship or something like that, then you might talk about him being a starter, but no team is going to look at him and say, "Oh yeah, that's going to be our starter." But they could totally say, "It's like, yeah, that's a legit number 2. That's a legit guy we want as our backup." So I mean, Mason Rudolph made himself, a backup quarterback role for the next 10 years, which is awesome, great for him. But I think you could get him for that. For you give him Mitch's money, maybe a little bit more, and then see. I mean, Kenny Pickett's what? When is he? When is he
He's
a free?
35.
Well, when's Kenny Pickett's? When was he drafted? When is his? Because this was year 2, so okay, so
Right.
we'll be entering year 3 of the Kenny Pickett
on his rookie deal.
yeah, on his rookie
Right.
deal. So
Yeah.
you could still do stuff like this. You could still have an expensive backup when you have
Right. This is true.
quarterback on a rookie deal.
And they're gonna have to figure something out because Kenny Pickett hasn't played a full season yet. And that's the bottom line, right? We don't know what he's gonna look like in year 3. He could come out and look like a much improved from year 1. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? But we don't know. There's so many unknowns surrounding the most key position in your organization, and that's what scares me.
Watching what Jordan Love has done this season, that even makes me say, you can't throw Kenny Pickett out just yet. I mean,
no, even Josh Allen, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot of I think everybody just expects first round quarterbacks to come into the league and just be phenomenal, future Hall of Famers, and it just doesn't.
Zach Wilson, what was the guy in the 49ers? Trey Lance. I mean, there are busts. I don't think it's fair yet to say Kenny's a bust, especially with all the sugar they went through this year. But man, next year or whatever, and I'm still. I think the big thing is, do they bring in a free agent quarterback? If they don't, then it's a totally different story. But if they do, oh boy. So
yeah, I haven't looked at the list yet, but
Justin Fields,
Kirk
Cousins. I think any option is out there. I think all options are on the table. Yeah. So we'll see. Who knows? Who knows what this new offensive coordinator is going to want?
But Justin Fields, though, he's not a free agent. You know,
you got to trade for him. You got to trade for him. Yeah. Like, what are you going to trade though? I could see. I mean, the Steelers are at the 20th pick, the first round. I don't want to trade a first round pick for him.
No,
second round, round pick maybe. Second round, third round, something like that.
I think the strong rumor right now is that the Carolina Panthers are trying to trade back in and see what they can do, because they don't have a first round pick. But who knows? I mean, it's like I said, I can't remember. The off season was kind of fun, but this season it's a mixture of how they can improve, but there's a lot that needs done in a short amount of time. I mean, it's already January. We're already halfway through January. That April is going to come a lot sooner. And I think Omar Khan's going to want, if there is a new coach or new coaches, he's going to want them in place as soon as he can get them in place to help evaluate talent and get this team built back up. So I think whatever's going to happen is going to happen fairly quick. Maybe not next week, but I think you can start seeing stuff move after, like, say, middle February. They're going to start, mixing things up.
It just hit me. I know who the next offensive coordinator is going to be. Mike McCarthy. Dude's from Penn Hills. He's a local guy. We got to get the local guy. And you know what?
Now, did I miss something today? Did he get fired?
Oh, no, he's not fired yet.
No, he hasn't gotten fired.
Well, I mean, it's going to happen any minute.
That's kind of what he hasn't gotten.
It's happening right now.
Small things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's still employed. I forgot about that. I mean,
he is. Yeah.
I mean, that's yeah.
But you're thinking along the lines of the Steelers, though, right? Because they either do a local guy or some guy with the same last name. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why it's a different story, right? Because you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and I thought, I don't care for that much for Jerry Jones, but what he said was right. I'm a little bit embarrassed and a little bit shocked, and I think everybody was. I'm not shocked that the Packers won. But to put 45 up on a defense that was absolutely solid without probably their second best player for most of the season. I mean, different story. Dallas has a lot going into next year. That defense should be stellar. That should be a very good team next year.
They have a massive mental block. You think the Steelers have a problem with the playoffs?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The Cowboys haven't been able to get out of the first round in the last 30 years or whatever. The last time they had any playoff success, that was when Neil O'Donnell handed the damn Super Bowl to him.
They've won 4 playoff games at home.
Still
Since
not over that.
No,
Yeah.
me neither. I was gonna say the same thing. I'm still not over the Super Bowl loss to the Cowboys.
But so I mean, that's where I feel like I wish we were in that position to have that kind of defense, and we don't right now. There's so many injuries, there's so many holes. There's the free agent list that you do see, a lot of it's defensive players. Is there's just a lot.
Well,
There's so much.
Here's the other big question. Okay, we've basically acknowledged, and everyone can acknowledge, that two of the big problems and causes of drama were Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. Do you keep them? Deontay Johnson's making $16 million a year. I know you need wide receivers, but dang.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth the drama? And Pickens flat out said it was the refs. The refs are crooked, and the refs cost the game. Like,
Yeah,
this is, I think,
what
what every time Najee and everybody's talking about it, the drama and the bad players. He's definitely one of them. He's like ground zero, patient zero for the bad apples.
Well, and if you watch it all, though, I mean, I remember going in the draft. I mean, that was a big knock on him. I mean, he was a problem in Georgia. He'd been reprimanded there many times. That was a big thing, and that just, I don't put that on Tomlin or the Steelers. It's just that's the kind of player he is. And you're right, Joe. Do you want to put up with that?
Well, you put it on him for drafting him when everybody else avoided him.
If you want to move up, if you want to move up from 20th, he's a hell of an attractive piece. I mean, because all said and done, he's the kind of guy that will change a game around. But
yeah. So many questions. I think we need to look at the big picture. This is the Penguins 2017 Stanley Cup champions. This is the big picture. No, I mean, when you look at overall, you look at a team that looked like it was going to fall apart, but they came together. No inside linebackers, playing a playoff game without TJ Watt and your third string quarterback. If you put some black and cold glasses on, you could say this season was somewhat a success. But I don't think anybody thinks that. I think it's the major reason is a failure is because you don't know what the heck's going on quarterback, and basically the offense torpedoed the whole season.
Your coach just left the press conference. I mean, you don't know what's going on.
Right, yeah.
You don't know what's going on with your offensive coordinators. You don't know what's going on with your quarterback. Now you have a linebacker that's a little pissed that Tomlin's being questioned. You don't know if your best defensive lineman is going to be back or not. I mean, you feel like, well, 10-7, 5-1 in the best division of football, that's a lot to build on. And I think they're more at the bottom than they are at the top of that. And that's the problem.
You're still in a division with Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. I think the Browns are going to. The Browns got lucky. You got your little Joe Flacco, run. You're still stuck with Deshaun Watson, you big dummies.
Right.
Probably the worst one of the worst trades maybe in NFL history. I mean, you're talking Herschel Walker, Cowboys, Emmitt Smith type thing right now. With that, but I'll say this, and I'm glad you went that way, Joe, because I think the Ravens are very good. I feel they're my favorite to get to the Super Bowl, maybe even win it. They have most of those guys back next year. Zay Flowers is really emerging as a great wide receiver. Where he dropped out a couple balls against the Steelers. Had he caught a few of those balls against the Steelers, we don't even make the playoffs. So there's that. The Browns were decimated. When you talk about our injuries, theirs were atrocious. And I feel despite the quarterback issue there, I think they could have made a further push in that without all that. But that finally caught up with them this past weekend. They're going to be back. The Bengals, Burrow will be back, but the Bengals have about as many questions as we do. They have a lot of aging players.
T. Higgins, they got decided to keep him. Now all those guys, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Now you got to pay all those guys.
Yeah, Dixon.
Now you're screwed. And they have a awesome defensive coordinator. That dude's going to go somewhere else. That dude's going to become a head coach somewhere else.
Their offensive line might be the worst offensive line of football. So I'm not as worried about them, but you better keep pace because I think the Browns will do what they have to do. And even if the Browns bring in a guy like Justin Fields, I don't know what's going to know.
Who
Who knows?
knows?
Who knows? But
Who knows what they'll do?
that's why I say, like, you think, well, 10-7, 5-1, that's a springboard. And I feel like they're more like just starting to climb the rungs of the ladder instead of being out on the bouncy part. I do.
Fun part's the fun part.
The Steelers
Right.
are considered a joke and an afterthought. And it's I mean, look who the final four in the AFC is. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, and Lamar Jackson, four of the premier quarterbacks in the league and in the conference. That is why the Steelers are considered a joke. I was, when I was on this other podcast, they're like, I said, oh, maybe the Steelers will make a run. It's like, you got Mason Rudolph. I mean, we're a joke.
Right.
Until we have a legit quarterback, we're nothing. We're nothing. And
this isn't the Ravens with Trent Dilfer anymore. You know what I mean? We can't just rely on our defense to win all the games and just have an okay quarterback. It's not the
Bucks
not the same league.
Who did the Buccaneers have in 02? What was his name?
Sean King.
No. It was number
Brad
14.
Johnson? Not
Brad Johnson. Yep.
Yeah.
But look at conservative, right? You look at the contrarily, right? The Sopranos. Contrarily. On the NFC side of things, you have a look. Here we go, Tony.
I like it.
The NFC quarterback. You have an undrafted quarterback that's the 49ers, who's leading the way. You have Jordan Love, who everybody, including Packers fans, was hating on until midway through this year, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, maybe he's good. Jared Goff, who's now emerged as a pretty good quarterback, laughed at for years, and Baker Mayfield.
Yes,
those are your final four quarterbacks in the NFC.
Yeah.
So and we can't even get out of our own way.
Darren, we didn't even talk about how you were physically at the game, and how cool was that? Now, how was that like normal games? This Steelers Bills game. How is it like different than other games besides 10 feet of snow on top of you?
I just felt like it was a playoff game. It had the playoff atmosphere, and the Bills just kind of seemed like they had the energy. Obviously, they're at home, and I mean, the Steelers it almost felt like we're here to do the best that we can, and it just kind of showed up that way on the field and the way it looked, and and everything else. It just, I don't know. It seemed like they were limping into this, and in some cases they were. So, that's kind of the vibe that I think a lot of us got, it was like, well, we gave it a shot. We were 10-point dogs for a reason. Big reason is TJ Watt not being in there. Would TJ Watt have made a difference? Yeah. Enough of a difference to win? Probably not. The field position thing. I'm not trying to harp on Harvin. By the way, don't ever draft a punter again. No. You can't give the Buffalo Bills that kind of a thing. You just can't. The snowball thing, I don't know why people were getting upset about that. Let me tell you something. There's like 50 feet of snow. The snow had to go somewhere. Unless they were going to start winging it at press boxes or each other, it had to go somewhere. So, and it was more like, I didn't see it. It didn't look like it was like, I'm going to try to erase Mason Rudolph. It was more like casually, happy, LeBron James.
There's been a lot more snowball problems in previous games and previous years. Yeah.
So no to that. And I just, that's the kind of thing. I mean, they got back into it. The Steelers got pissed with the whole with Jay Peasy went down. The sidelines really got emotional. It got heated. They were pissed. They felt that was a cheap shot. Hit. I do too.
Yeah. It was. I think it should be
called, especially after getting to watch the
replay.
Stephon
Diggs drinking out of the water bottle on the sideline too. Like,
yeah.
Where were there were so many bad calls in that game, but that was an obvious taunting. You know what I mean? Like, how is that not taunting 15 yards? Unsportsmanlike conduct, whatever you want to call it.
That's an interesting point because the Bills fans that were there, obviously tons of them, everybody was in agreement there. Everybody was talking about it. How this year more than most, I don't think there's ever been such inconsistent and downright awful officiating across the board.
Yeah,
not just than anyone's ever seen. I mean, just like no clue.
It's unbelievable. It's
like unbelievable. Game costing, You know,
Yeah.
like, these aren't
Yeah.
just calls that are just like, oh, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. There's
It
like
affects
literally
like
games are won and lost
the Dallas
because of these
Detroit
guys'
thing a few
decisions.
weeks ago.
Right, and it
Well,
almost happened again.
Yeah.
yeah,
This
did you
week
see Saturday
something.
night at Detroit when he
Right.
checked in and they played the Stone Cold
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Austin?
that was funny.
What?
Yeah.
And he what? And everybody goes, what? Yeah, I mean that was yeah, that was
Yeah,
a
but the
good play.
Lions got screwed on something else, though.
It was
If they
a
had lost
false
against
start in neutral
right,
zone thing. Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Which
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
if they
like come on, that's something that you could easily fix. That's something that you
right,
can just
yeah, you
see.
posted right after
That's not a
that.
judgment call for God's sake.
No.
But let's hand it to the Steeler fans for showing up in Buffalo
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
whenever Muth caught a pass, you heard a lot. It was very
Right, yeah,
loud.
yeah.
Muth. That is
Muth.
very impressive.
Bills fans were going Muth.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like never Daryl Johnson is the same thing. Moose. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
But were there? I mean, I've always heard that Bills fans were friendly. Did they seem pretty friendly, or were they setting each other on fire and breaking through tables?
The only harm they ever do is to themselves. I mean, I remember being up there for the Winter Classic, and I mean, they were just so much fun. I mean, we're Sabres, Penguins, and I mean, it was fun then. I mean, it's always that way with the Bills. I mean, I think they're probably. I mean, obviously, I'll be a homer. I love our fan base, but they're right up there, if not 1.5, 1.2, whatever you want to say. They're just nicer, hospitable. They're not jerks. It's not
Right.
sorry, it's not Philadelphia. It's just really
It's not Cleveland.
good people. So, and I
Um,
mean, I think they were all happy. They were getting Kansas City, back. They're getting a home game against Kansas City, and they'll be ready.
Taylor
Yeah.
Swift is coming to Buffalo, baby. Oh boy.
Yes, he is.
Pat Mahomes in his first road playoff game. Oh, we must protect our precious baby angel Mahomes.
I'm so sick of his, and a Bills fan was saying this yesterday, and I thought it was a great point. Allen got decked a couple times, and even decked a couple times this year, and nothing. Like he got hit really hard there. I think it was Nick Herbig that planted him. He got right back up, and you could have questioned it being roughing the passer. He got up, he didn't say a thing to the officials. Mahomes is sitting there the minute he gets touched, and that's not a immature observation at all. It's a legitimate thing. He whines more than any quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he's constantly in the officials' ear on every single thing, and you saw how he acted when they lost to the Bills, Joe. And we went on a tangent about that for 10 minutes on your one podcast. I mean, for him to say what he said to Josh Allen, like he could have said, "Hey, good game."
And he was a whiny baby about it. Yeah.
So everything's great up there. I will tell you this: if you are a Steeler fan in any capacity and you want to go up there for a Bills game, a Sabres game, go. And it's you can wear your stuff. Can't do that at the Flyers.
No.
Can't do that in Philadelphia. You better not do it in the Meadowlands. You can do it in Cleveland, but beware, right? And Baltimore too.
No.
But
Buffalo
and we're gonna kick your ass. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, man.
It is a wonderful, friendly, passionate fan base, and I've pissed all of them off in the past 72 hours, and I apologize for that. But hey, I was caught up in the game. I was a little mad at the governor. Seemed like the governor was gonna shoot any Steeler fans that dared to come. I don't know. It kind of seemed like, but no, that it is a great area. It's a great fan base. And you know what? Come on, there's a reason they were 10 points, favorites. Even if TJ played, it would have been maybe a little bit closer, but still they would have won. They were heavily favored. I mean, that is a true Super Bowl contender. They are, they're firing on all cylinders. So, what are you gonna do? It's just
yeah. I mean,
and the defense held a grudge when everybody was saying, "Oh, there's going to be a blizzard. Oh, the Steelers are going to win this game." You know what I mean? So the defense,
Well, I think it would have been like let's say like the original forecast was like really heavy winds, and they didn't say anything about snow, just really heavy winds. And that would have really taken out the any passing game or any passes, and I think that would have benefited the Steelers. We saw that the Steelers couldn't even run because oh God, I don't even want to get into the game plan, but
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
So
Yeah,
I think if it was severe like wind or something like that or severe cold, I think that actually maybe would have benefited the Steelers, but oh well.
yeah. I don't know. Just given
The
how
wind was
they
at his
stopped
back.
the run
Harvin's
game,
punts may have been okay.
right?
What's that?
If the wind was at his back, maybe Harvin's punts would have been worth a damn.
Yeah,
Right.
it would have been 32 yards instead of 31 yards.
That would be typical Steeler thing, right? They would have played. He would have averaged 71 yards a punt. They would have signed him to a 5-year deal.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
look at these
Right after the game,
guys.
like in the locker room, they would have done
Yeah,
it.
that was Mother Nature and God and
they would
Jesus
have
and
made him
whatever.
a new offensive coordinator.
Right.
All
You're the
right.
man.
All right,
Yeah.
guys. I feel better. I had a lot of things to get off my chest. I
don't
went
know.
through.
I feel worse.
I know this is just the beginning of this is like the first 5 minutes of Days of Our Lives when when we just found out that somebody the devil possessed someone and
Like
Marlena, yeah, the devil. We all know that the devil possessed
the
Marlena.
cruise of deception. Let's do that this summer. Yeah. I tell you what, this has been fun this year. Joe, we've had a lot of good followers. Allison, I've had a lot of people comment to me about you. I think they've told me they started following you and Leanne because of the podcast and how refreshing it is to have, women like you making a name for themselves and coming up with, great talking points. So, kudos to you and the job you and Leanne have done this year too. It's been a lot of fun having you ladies with us each week.
Just be
Yeah,
careful
it's
what
always
questions
great.
you ask the coach. That's all.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And you know what?
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And here we go. We're going to start a whole new year of off season. There is no off season. There's just
No.
almost as much stuff talking about what's going to happen in the off season as it is during the season. So we got a lot more to go, a whole new year. So really looking forward to it.
Steelers Super Bowl 2024.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Bye, guys.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
See you guys.